Alright, remember before we discussed exponential functions, and exponential functions are functions where the variable is an exponent, and it's written in the form of y equals a times b to the x power. A being your initial amount or your starting amount, b being your common ratio, which is also can be factors in your growth and decay factor, and I'll mention that in a second, and x is your exponent, which is some component of time. Exponential growth, if your b is greater than 1, then there's exponential growth. If your b is greater than 0 but less than 1, then there's an exponential decay. Basically, b would be a fraction if you experience exponential decay. Now let's apply that to some examples. Compounding interest, you can apply this same concept to compounding interest, and compounding interest can be compounded at different periods of the year. So if you're compounding interest annually, that means you're getting your interest in one lump sum that year. And say, for example, my interest rate is 8%. Well, that 1 year, I would get one lump sum of 8% interest added on to my money. If my interest is compounded biannually, that means every 6 months, that means 2 times a year, I'm going to get a portion of that 8%. So that 8% is going to be split in half, and I'm going to get 4% every 6 months. Quarterly means that my interest is going to be split into 4 payments. So every 3 months, I will get 2% of the 8% interest added on to my money until I'm totally paid out the 8%. Monthly means each month I will have interest added to my money in my account, meaning my money would be 100% and then the interest will be extra money added on to the 100%. So 8 divided by 12 would leave me with 0.6 repeating percent that I would get each month if my interest was compounded monthly at 8% interest. Now looking at this example, suppose the principal on a loan is $900 with 3% interest compounded biannually for 5 years. What would be the amount of interest you get at the end of 5 years? Well, y equals a times b to the x. A is my starting value, which is my principal of $900. So I start with $900, and I'm going to get interest added to my money biannually for 5 years. So that means I'm going to get 100% of my money plus 3% interest, but that 3% interest is given to me in 2 payments. That means every 6 months I'm going to get a portion of that interest until I get the total 3%. So I had to split that interest, that 3%, in half, and that gave me this decimal 0.15 number that I have right here. So I'm going to get $900 plus 0.1 decimal 0.15% of my money. This 1 is representing the 900 at 100% of my money. So this 1 is representative of 100%. So I'm going to get 100% plus half of the 3% interest on my money. Now, I'm going to get this for 5 years. So that sum is to the 5th power, and I'm going to get it twice. So I had to do 1 plus 0.015 to the 5th power to the 2nd power. This exponent combined is to the 10th power. So basically I'm going to have 1 plus 0.015 to the 10th power, and that's how I will find out how much money I'm going to get, how much interest and money I'm going to get in the 5-year period biannually. In this next problem, suppose you have 50,000 followers on Twitter. Because of your controversial topics, the number of followers drops 8% quarterly each year. How many followers will you have in 3 years? Well, first of all, I'm losing 8% of my followers quarterly every year. Quarterly means every 3 months. That means 4 times a year, I'm going to lose some followers. So I had to take that 8% and divide it by 4. That means 2% each quarter of my followers are lost. They drop. They don't follow me anymore on Twitter. Now, if I plug those values into here, A would be my 50,000 followers that I start with. B would be my 50,000 followers as a percentage, which is 100% that I started with, minus the 2% that I'm losing each quarter. And that 2% is changed to a decimal, and that's decimal 02. So this will give me a total of decimal 98. And that's going to happen quarterly for 3 years. So for 3 years, quarterly, so it's going to be to the third power, that's for 3 years. And then quarterly is going to be to the fourth power. I'm sorry, this is a mistake. It's going to happen 4 times each year. I'm going to lose those followers. So this is going to be 0.98 to the 12th power, because this 3 represent the number of years that I'm going to lose followers, and this represent the period per year that I'm going to lose followers. So 4 times a year for 3 years, I'm going to lose 98% of my followers. 2% of my followers. Sorry. All right. So then when I do that, I have my 50,000 times my 98, my decimal 98 to the 12th power. And that's how you will figure out the amount of followers you're losing each year.